This video is about my second game jam, Alien Parasites, and executive management. The first game jam I was ever in, I got an honorable mention. Maybe this time I'll do even better. The second game jam would defeat me, crush me, and in the end, I'm actually pretty happy with what I made. Let me explain. It all began with the announcement. Unlike other game jams, people weren't allowed to form teams. I work alone anyway, so maybe I'll do even better than last time. We had plenty of time too. 15 days? That's so much more than normal game jams. This'll be easy. The day arrives, the clock is set, the people are ready, and in an instant, the theme is revealed. Aberration, which in my experience means a difference often small or negative. This is the crisis point. Will you come up with a great game idea now, or be stumped and not even bother with the jam? And I couldn't come up with anything, and I quit. Psych! Of course I had a great idea. How else would I be able to make this video? Imagine if I made a video, and I didn't participate in the jam I was talking about. Anyway, my idea was this. Imagine managing a space station, seeing all the people running to and fro, and you notice an aberration in their behavior. You follow a suspicious person, and upon investigation, you discover an alien infestation. That was my idea. A game that has such a great focus on the theme, but it gets even better. Because it's a space station, I can name it Aber Station. And then when the lights flicker... Oh yeah, it's a pun. I told you it got better. It would probably be a management game with Paper Please style gameplay mixed in. So now that you know my idea, it's time to see what it turned into. What happened to make it into what it is now? What happened was the next 15 days. Day 1, I made some sprites for the crew members and for some walls. Day 2, nothing. Day 3, I worked on variations of the crew members. Officer, logistics, maintenance, and I worked on some of their animations. Day 4, nothing. I have a life, okay? Day 5, I finished the basic animations for crew members. But what would the map be? Like, I was thinking multiple levels with the elevator connecting it, but which people would be where? Where would they go? Why would they even go there? You know? Day 6, I was brainstorming with a friend and then realized it's not really a team of one now, is it? I had to go back, delete all those ideas. I made the doorway variations have different frames, so it's easy to tell at a glance the different door styles. I also made the maintenance guy's vest actually match the colors of the maintenance door, so it actually makes sense, unlike earlier when I suppose I just didn't care for making sense at all. I started some programming and came up with the most critical component of the game. This would make the game what it is. The core gameplay loop would be observing the crew spot an aberration in their walking. Any member is capable of an aberration in walking, but the infected is much more likely to have an aberration to mess up. So even after somebody messes up, you don't know for sure that they're the infected. To find that out, you need to order an audit on that crew member. Fancy word for saying get some numbers about them. Now this audit's gonna have work scores on it, but how do you know if those work scores are correct or not? Fun numbers, this is a fun game. You have to look at other people's audits to get a feel for what is the general variation in the numbers here. What's normal? So let's say you notice that the numbers are not normal. Does that mean he's guilty? No. It sounds just like paperwork, but it's fun paperwork. Every single audit is done by an auditor who's actually another member of the crew. If they are infected, they could be messing it up. So you have to audit them, but then be concerned about who their auditor is. But if you back out of this video, I'm telling your mom on you. You get a feel for these things. You have to be managing all this paperwork, and in the end, you aren't 100% sure you're giving it your best guess. I love this gameplay. The basic Papers, Please style games often are like, you see one thing wrong, okay, they're guilty, you know, get rid of them. One thing's off, out of here. Whereas this requires you to be juggling this paperwork, make your best guess, and because you're not 100% sure, when you select that they're guilty and you get to see if they actually were or not, it's a lot more exciting. I really like this. I think it's a very fun twist. Anyway, day 7, I designed the paperwork and IDs and started programming them. We're a week into the jam. I want to have the game done already so I could do like a week of playtesting. We gotta get this done. Day 8, I started on crew member AI, and I don't think we can have this be multiple floors. How am I gonna tell them where to go? It's just, I don't have that much time. Days 9 and 10, I worked on the AI more and they can move around. I also made animations for the doors themselves opening and closing. Day 11, I made an animation for the crew members opening doors. Yes, I know I just spent like 2 days on doors opening, but it gets worse from here because I then struggled to get them to enter and exit doors properly. Day 12, I'm fighting against this behemoth of an issue that is trying to get them to enter and exit doors, okay? It's not as easy as it sounds. They have to go to the door, queue up based on who was closest to getting to the door, not enter if somebody's entering or exiting, and then take turns going in or coming out. And even that sounds simpler than what I remember. All I know is it was a pain, but I fixed it. But we don't have much time left. We are 12 days into a 15-day game jam. I need to get a working game loop together as soon as possible. So I trimmed it down. I was just gonna do one hallway. And I made a background that I'm really proud of. I mean, it looks great. You can see the planet, put some extra animation in there. I'm really happy with it. It took from dumpy test world to cool spaceport. Day 13, I got the paper moving around and UI elements working. Day 14, I finished the audit system and started balancing it. I added some lighting and started working on executions. Yes, executions. Your goal is to execute the infected, but you don't know for sure that it's them until you see the execution. It adds surprise flair to the game, or it will once I add it. Day 15, the final day. I still needed added executions, winning, losing, audio, and a tutorial so people actually know how to play the game. So I got to work and added them. Guards run in and execute. I did a tutorial and that opening screen with the title of the game. I'm surprised I got all this done the last day, but we actually didn't have much time left and I still had no audio for the game. I had the feeling, wait a second, you know how space doesn't really have noise or it's just so quiet or muffled? That vibe could be taken advantage of, and all I did was add a muffled when somebody gets shot, and just that one noise gives the whole thing this space feel. It's fantastic. Then I added like an echoey song to the whole thing as well. Audio's done. I cut it pretty close, but I finished in time. I survived the jam. But now the judging process begins. The time when all your work is upheld as valuable or neglected as rubble and lost to the endless unyielding march of time. You may think that the worst that can happen is I lose, but I kind of end up losing in 3 ways all at the same time. Here's how. Number 1, as the judge was going through, playing all the games, he would actually list some of them in the Discord channel. This was basically honorable mentions. He listed so many games got to be these honorable mentions, but not mine. But maybe it's because it was going to be one of the winners. Spoiler, it wasn't. Number 2, there was a community vote on itch.io where people get to vote and rate your game on certain categories. Now, this is where I had an opportunity. I saw everybody else on Discord trying to share their games and get people to play them and vote on them. I'll rate your game if you rate my game. Fools. Ratings don't come from the amount of votes. They come from the actual average rating. Meaning, the more votes you have, it doesn't make your game perform better. If I could get only the people who like my game to play it and avoid having the people who don't like it, my rating's gonna be higher. What are the odds your average person on the Discord is going to like a point-and-click manager game? It's not exactly Call of Duty. No, I wouldn't ask them to vote on my game. Instead, I had a much better voting base. A group of people so desperate, they would enjoy anything. There are actually people who dedicate themselves to playing through every game entered in the jam. There are around 1,000 games entered in this jam. With 1,000 games in their play history, they have seen the depths of low quality. To keep from going mad, they have to be able to appreciate anything. That's who I want rating my game. And sure enough, without even having to ask, some people came through and rated my game. So, how well did I do? Well, itch.io knows that if one person were to come along and rate your game 5 stars in every category, and that was the only rating you received, would give you an average rating of basically 5 stars in every category, and your game is probably not perfect. That's just a fluke of statistics. So, what do they do to solve this issue? If your game does not have the amount of votes the average game got in the jam, they just tank your ratings. They just... Who cares what your ratings were? You don't have that much? Your game's worse than what people rated it. Now, as you can tell, I don't really agree with this system. I understand there's a problem, but surely we can find a better solution. So I really shot myself in the foot with this one and just ended like straight in the middle with the itch.io rating, so I pretty much didn't win there. Finally, the most obvious and third way I lost, when the winner list was revealed and the judges picked the top grand prize, it was not me. It's just that simple. And the cherry on top, main judge, from my own understanding of what he said, he kind of implied that to give other people a chance, he didn't consider some high quality games. That if your game is too high quality, you lose? He can run the jam however he wants. But really, a competition where you lose if you do too well? So, maybe I'll just believe that my game was too good to win. But I could see areas where my game was terrible. Like, how to start, you have to read through 3 pages of the tutorial. Like 3 pieces of paper. You start it up, alright, time to get reading. Might as well be a book. And I like the indirect clue gathering that forms the main gameplay, but it's literally difficult. Like, in order to make something difficult to find out, I had to make it complicated. And it's not easy to explain something complicated. I can see people getting lost. For all I know, the people who played my game never figured it out. I don't know how easy it is to figure out. Maybe nobody knew what it meant. And there's one thing that I think might not actually be a flaw, but could be seen as a flaw. There is no losing to the game. If you execute the crewmates, you just executed them, you're gonna get the infected eventually, and then the game just restarts. The game doesn't advance, but I think it makes for a kind of chill game where you set your own standards for how well you want to do. I understand there's an evil alien on board, but that doesn't mean it can't be chill. And the theme is pretty generic. Like, it's just sci-fi. That's one of my main takeaways, that I think I could have made something that's more unique and memorable. And my other takeaway is that, maybe I shouldn't be so creative with my game design. I'm over here trying to reinvent the wheel and talking about how it might be too confusing for people and need 3 pages of tutorial. So, I didn't win anything. But I think what I made is pretty cool. I love it. You can play it at the link in the description to itch.io. Just ignore the bug where if you try to execute somebody right as they're entering a door, they just stop moving. So, try it out. Maybe you'll like it. Maybe you won't. Anyway, have fun.